What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Reality Kingdom, where we put the real in reality or whatever, period. I'm your host, Pharaoh, and today we are going to be joined by, figuratively, Zay from Big Brother 27, and I will be, figuratively, interviewing him for you guys. Now, the reason I say figuratively is because this interview was not conducted by me. This is a list of questions that he had answered, that we sent in one of the questions, other people sent in some of the other questions, and he ended up answering a jumble of them. One of our questions did get answered, so we will be asking the question that we asked, but also some of the other questions were asked by different podcasters, different distributors, and we will be asking the questions on behalf of them in order to just kind of make it a more flowy type of video. So here we go. Let's get into the interview with Zay, period. Zay, what do you believe was your biggest mistake in the game and why?
I think there's so many ways I could take this. I think it's easy to say like I literally blanked so hard in the competition that like it was such a dumb mistake and that it cost me my game right there. I think a big one would be not connecting with the women early enough in the house. I could have gone out and started talking game a little bit earlier. It's a hard balance, I think, when you're in there because you don't know really who else is talking game, how early they are, and I think a lot of people talk game too early, like Kelly, immediately put a target on their back. But if you wait too long, like how I feel I did, then you're kind of playing catch up and trying to grab votes that are already kind of almost leaning against you. And so I think it's a hard balance that obviously week one is the hardest because if you're not on the block, it doesn't really matter that much. You don't have to go out of your way to talk game as much week one. You can kind of wait for people to come to you. But because I was on the block, I don't think I played my cards perfectly there.
Riley told some of the girls, specifically Catherine, that he would vote with the women for this past vote. Does that connection surprise you by chance?
A little bit. Like he would always talk in the house about like how he's like he wanted like to some women in general. But he never mentioned really Catherine to me, which is crazy because we're like super tight boys. But it kind of makes sense strategically that he wouldn't mention that. But yeah, it was a little bit surprising to go back and hear about like everything that he did for Catherine. It doesn't seem like she's the most interested, but I still love Riley. He's hilarious. He's a great guy. Obviously, it's a game, so at the end of the day, I don't hold anything personal against Riley. I do not think, though, that at the end of the day, it was best for his game to evict me. I would have had his back in future weeks.
Okay, sister, now I have to ask, do you still think that it was a good idea to come for the queen, Rachel Riley, or do you regret it?
I do think it was my best chance. My goal was to try and take the pressure off myself. People, for some reason, even though I did nothing to make myself a threat, just because I had muscle, I don't really know. Just because I had muscle, people automatically thought of me as a threat. And so, my goal is to try and take the pressure off me and put it on her. Say, hey, I'll stand up to her. You guys think she's a threat, so I'll be the one who takes her out. And I was hoping that would give me at least one more week in the game. So no, I don't regret that at all. I think it was the best play for my game. Obviously, it didn't work out, but I think at that point my fate was kind of determined. I don't think there was anything else I could have really done to help myself stay in the game another week. It was just came out of the competitions at that point.
Now, do you feel like that hyper focus on Rachel this week hurts you, or do you feel like it helps your case when it comes to this vote? Because, girl, you're at home. No shade!
I think that it could have been played either way. I think that last final fight helped my case because I think people started realizing that, the people that saw it firsthand were as confused as I was as why it was going on. Like, it was completely out of line, like the whole interaction. And so I think that it helped my case, if anything, or at least will help her not last as long as she would have otherwise.
Okay, Zay, so during your back and forth with Rachel, what was going on through your mind? Do you regret how confrontational you got? Y'all got kind of heated, and some might even say you were a little aggressive in that situation. So do you regret coming for her, or are you still standing on 10 toes?
Yeah, I think anyone that watches the entire live interaction would not say I was being aggressive in any way. I think it's really easy to have that perspective skewed on, the way it was edited. But I think it's pretty obvious. I wanted nothing to do with the conflict. I wanted nothing to do with the confrontation. I would literally sit there and I would just stand there and she would just stare at me until I responded. And there were times where I was even grabbing water and she was just staring at me. And I was trying to, talk to her one-on-one and she would walk across the house to try and blow it up for yelling at each other across the house. And it's pretty obvious that I didn't want that to happen. That was the one line that I said. So I feel like I almost had to say something or she wasn't going to stop. And so that's the one line I said. I actually fumbled the delivery of it pretty bad because I didn't want to say it. And I was still like, as I was saying, I was like, is this something I want to say? Like, I know it's probably going to go on TV. Like, is this how I want to be represented? Like, do I want to be represented as somebody who, almost like gets in fights? Because I don't. In my real life, I never argue. I never get in fights with really anybody. And so it was surprising to me that I was even in a confrontation like that because I haven't been like probably since I was like a little kid. Like I don't think I've had a confrontation like that. And so it was lucky for me to be involved in that. But I think that if people really do think that I was being aggressive or out of line anyway, then they're a little bit misinformed and didn't watch the entire interaction.
Was there anything you think you could have done to save your game at the end?
I mean, obviously, winning competitions would have helped. I think that's the easiest way that I could have saved my game. I think towards the end there, I was campaigning hard. I was trying my best, but I just think it wasn't in the cards for me to stay if I didn't win the competition, and I didn't execute. I didn't pull through.
All right, y'all. That was the interview. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. If you do not subscribe to us because we will be giving live updates occasionally throughout the entire season of the live feeds. And we go live every Tuesday to do a live feed recap and to do a player rating with a special guest. Last week it was Quinn. Next week it will be someone else. So make sure you tune in and you subscribe. Also, every Wednesday we have an after show with a special guest. This week our special guest will be Jessica Milagros. So if you would like to send any questions to Jessica Milagros, you can use the hashtag Kingdom Speaks on Twitter or on Blue Sky or on any social media and at us, and we can ask Jessica Milagros these questions for you on our Wednesday recap. And of course, on Thursday, right after the eviction episode, we go live to talk about the evicted house guests. So make sure you get into it with us this season of Big Brother 27. And thank you for keeping it real with the Kingdom, baby. We out. Bye.